everyone, good afternoon and welcome to another Live at the Waterhole, where first up we're in East Africa, Kenya, and to be precise, Old Donyo. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and what does the bush hold in store for us today? Well, you'll have to sit back, relax, and watch as the animals come down to quench their thirsts and cool off. And as per usual, please don't forget that this is a live and interactive experience, so we'd love for you to jump on board with us and send us through your questions and your comments. You can do that by going on the WildEarth website and registering. You can also join the conversation on X, formerly known as Twitter, using the hashtag WildEarth. What is it that you'd like to see? What would you like to chatter about? Or whatever it is wildlife related, send it on through. And what a wonderful start we have here with these massive bull elephants. It seems like the Maasai giraffe, as per usual, just going to have to wait their turn. Wonderful perspective from this camera. Nice, almost down at ground level. And looking up at these massive elephants just makes them seem even that much bigger. A little bit of greeting going on between them. And Joanne Mello saying, good Tuesday, Ralph. Straight back at you, Joanne. Lovely to have you on board. So even though these guys have got relatively big tusks, they wouldn't be considered as big tuskers. Those needing to extend almost down to the ground. And there's one that comes through here that's called 1 ton. Haven't seen him for a while. But these tusks are impressive nonetheless. And Jin Lin saying, hi, Ralph. Hi back at you, Jin Lin. Nice that you're joining us once more. A bit of clouds about. We haven't had many days where it's been clear here. It's generally like this, and it just blocks our view for the mountain in the background, Mount Kilimanjaro, the roof of Africa. So Roscoe was asking, are there any anti-poachers keeping watch of 1 ton at all times? Roscoe, I don't think that there's a dedicated team just to 1 ton. There is an anti-poaching unit here that does operate around Old Donyo, and it's in conjunction with Big Life Foundation, and they've got trained dogs with them. And just from the Great Plains website, they speak of one of the most effective tools to an anti-poaching strategy is to deter poachers from even coming into an area. And in this regard, there's no tool more effective than tracker dogs. And even if the poachers are not ambushed or stopped before the crime, they'll almost definitely be caught with the dogs after the crime. They cannot get away. And so this Big Life Foundation, as I say, in conjunction with Great Plains Conservation, they've got a team, and a lot of the guests, the fees that they pay when they stay here at the lodge goes towards the Big Life Foundation and assisting the anti-poaching team with the dogs as well. And they'll be looking after the animals in general and not just dedicated to one animal. So Bill the Bull is with us once again, and he says 1 ton was at the pan last night, and very happy to have him around. I'd love to see him now, but good to know that at least he's in and out and around the area. So, and just carrying on with the anti-poaching unit, what they actually do on site at the lodge is in an effort to assist with the fundraising for the anti-poaching unit itself, the guests at the lodge have the opportunity to partake in the anti-poaching training exercises for the dogs. And in what can only be deemed as similar to hide and seek, guests become the poacher, and together with their guide will be given a head start to run and hide in the bush, whilst the anti-poaching dog and a Big Life handler track you down. This is a unique experience, which does come at additional cost, but it all goes towards the anti-poaching units, which obviously is an expensive exercise, but it also assists in being immersed amongst those who work so hard to protect these animals and the area, and it is a highly recommended activity if you ever have the chance of going to the Old Donyo Lodge in Kenya. All right, so it looks like they've drunk their fill and they're moving off. So I think we'll do the same, and we'll head back to South Africa, the Greater Kruger Park and Olifants River. Where we've also got some elephants, seemingly under the fig trees, having a bit of a dust bath. Always nice and cool and shaded here next to the river.
Experience captivating wildlife documentaries showcasing incredible animal behavior for free by visiting lionmountain.tv or downloading the app, accessible on both Apple and Android platforms.
So just slowly feeding along the bank there, that one individual that seems to be a little bit subordinate to the one up the side of the bank. And of course, as you would expect, lots and lots of birds in and around these riverine areas. Lots of food and of course lots of water as well. So everything they need. Looks like he's decided to head upriver a little bit. I wonder if he's going to go up the bank or maybe feed a bit on the grass here. Lovely greenery there as the Egyptian geese just start to get out of the way. Like that. They're all pretty short and brittle, broken, and so much so that even in Etosha National Park, you can often even find pieces of ivory lying around. And in Linyanti and Savuti, I had the same experience with, as we drive around and walk around there, we would often see it. And when I first went to Botswana, it was one of my first jobs actually in Selinda, in the Linyanti concession. We're going to look after the camps in the quiet season. And with the local guide, it was just him and me looking after the camps. So it was quite a trial by fire. But as we were moving around, I would pick up these pieces of tusks and I would say, wow, this is incredible. You know, why don't we take some? And the local guide just said to me, he said, you dropped that right where you saw it. He said, the BDM, or the Botswana Defence Force, BDF, they have eyes everywhere in the bush there. And he said, you take that, they'll be coming for you. So that was the first time I sort of realized the potency of the defense force in Botswana, and also just the sort of dangers of traveling with ivory. But I was very young, just in my early 20s, so I thought I'd take a chance. But, as the hippo either doesn't or does like my story, but yes. So, yeah, Botswana, Namibia, and Angola not having any of those big tuskers. And with the ivory trade, they even said that any tusks over 100 pounds were never gotten in those areas. So it seems like the big tuskers more so on the eastern seaboard, from the KwaZulu Natal up into Mozambique. And right up into Kenya as well. So maybe down to the vegetation and the minerals that's available on that side, and the western side of southern Africa and heading a bit north from there, it seems like the minerals are lacking, and then their tusks are very brittle. Here, the European rollers now. Yeah, that other male looks like he also wants to come down to the water now. All right, so we've got something new that we're going to be showcasing, and that's some of the highlights that we have been experienced on Africam. So here's the first clip. So this is at King's Camp, and all of these highlights are within the last 24 hours. And what a beautiful up-close shot with this elephant. This is incredible. Notice the hairs along the trunk. You don't often realize how much hair they do have on the trunk unless you're really up close with them like this. Could he be taking an interest in the camera, or is it just coincidence that he's right above us, yeah? Well, regardless, what a wonderful sighting that was. Nice, up close and personal, with a big elephant bull at King's Camp. Lovely. Sounds like a white-fronted bee eater now. That's also calling. Let me reap.
Experience captivating wildlife documentaries showcasing incredible animal behavior for free by visiting lionmountain.tv or downloading the app, accessible on both Apple and Android platforms.
Black-collared barbets calling there in duet. Too puddly, too puddly, too puddly. Nothing stressed about this elephant, just having a relaxed day, feeding along quietly. So I don't know what the viewers' impression of yesterday or the highlights were for them, but definitely for me, we saw that black heron at Vic Falls, and it was doing its typical hunting method of using the shadow of its wings, canopy hunting. It was just incredible, and the first time for me getting it on screen, so that was definitely my highlight of the day. Seems they're going to meet once more. Ears out, trying to make themselves look bigger. Oh, looks like the tables may have turned. And he sprayed water behind his ears in disgust. Okay, so wonderful time here at Olifants River with these two bulls, but I think let's change of place. And just like before with the highlights, let's go to King's Camp. All about the elephants once again. And this being a beautiful spot as well. Still in the Greater Kruger Park. Sounds like a red-billed hornbill, just calling in the background. A little bit faster than the yellow-billed. Very much the same call, but the red-billed just he's a bit quicker on his call than the yellow-billed. And this being a young bull, he's got very big tusks. He's still got a bit of growing to do. Looks like quite a bit of wind coming through as well. Very often this time of the day you can have quite a bit of wind. There's a little marsh terrapin's head just poking out at the bottom right of your screen. Oh, and there's another one. And an impala just come onto the scene there as well. Seems like it startled this young bull. So Sandy Franklin, 69, says, good afternoon, Ralph. Just getting started this morning. Welcome aboard, Sandy Franklin. And Joanne Mello said, never realized how big they are until I saw them next to a Land Rover. Yeah, Joanne, and I never realized how big the Etosha elephants were until I saw a big bull bus, and it was bigger than the bus. Just the front of the bus, obviously, it was a big bus, but we could see it over the top of the bus and out both sides as well. It was incredible, huge. As you see, those impala now racing through for whatever reason, but that's the elephant bull, who's young and probably not that sure about himself. He's also now a little bit nervous. See that tail? When it goes stiff like that, he's not relaxed. Oh, well, he just released a bit of his excess gas, and off he goes as well. And out of sight. Unless he pokes up on the other side there, he may be gone. And you can hear the red-billed buffalo weavers. They're nesting in this tree just above this camera. There's a few nests there. You see this marsh terrapin just moving in on the left as well.
We've got a refreshing splash of entertainment this March. Africam is surfacing with a new show. Join us every morning and submerge yourself in nature's ambience. Watch it live and transport yourself to the finest watering holes across Africa. WildEarth, connecting with nature.
We're just having a look to see what else may be around. Not seeing too much for now. Except for the little dragonflies. There's a meaves or a long-tailed starling. You hear them calling in between the red-billed buffalo weavers as well. Oh, looks like these impala have come all the way around, and now they're right next to us here. They have a bit of a drink. So Cindy asking, how do small animals like terrapins make sure they don't get trampled by elephants? And, well, I'm going to answer that question in a little bit, Cindy, but I think we're just having a little bit of a problem with this camera here. So let's head on over for now to Old Donyo. So Cindy, lots of big animals that the little guys need to be careful of, from buffalo to rhino and elephants as well, especially when they come down and start walking through the mud and whatnot and going into the waterhole itself. And you ask, how do they actually make sure they don't get trampled? Well, I think they just try and get out of their way when they they see the big animal coming, or the elephant. But one of the game reserves that I was working on, I was walking with the trails guides, and we came across a little pan, and we were looking at the white rhino tracks in the pan itself, and they were lovely and fresh and in the mud, so it was nice to see all the cracks and toes and etc. within the track itself. So we were looking at the detail, and then we noticed something inside the track, which was a squashed terrapin. So they're not always successful at evading the elephants and the rhinos, etc. And in that one's case, it met an unlucky demise, being squashed under the foot of a white rhino. So, yeah, I think in general, it's just evasion and getting out the way. That's the best policy, but it doesn't always work. He's really flicking his ear flaps around there. and Marula Shortcake saying, check how green Old Donyo has become. Yeah, it's a bit of good rain here, Marula, and as a result, it has become lovely and green. You can still see lots of rain clouds about, so the potential for rain is quite high, even now. Looks like he too may now have had enough and slowly moving off. So Jesse want to know, are a lot of the elephants in the tuskers because they are related to each other? Jesse, I would say no. The reason we only have sort of so few big tuskers left is because of the ivory trade and the amount of hunting that they did for those big tusks. And obviously, the bigger the tusks, the more that those animals were targeted. So it was only a few that sort of came out of that era. And their bloodline now has obviously become, it's only from them really where we still do get those big tuskers, but in that bloodlines with the big tusks were shot out, and mainly down to the ivory trade. Just getting in closely on an emerald spotted wood dove. Lots of little birds come down to visit here. And just going a little bit further on the ivory trade, and this is from Wikipedia. Speaking of, elephant ivory has been exported from Africa and Asia for millennia, with records going back to the 14th century. Transport of the heavy commodity was always difficult, and with the establishment of the early modern slave trades from East and West Africa, freshly captured slaves were used to carry the heavy tusks to the ports, where both the tusks and their carriers were sold. Ivory was used for piano keys, billiard balls, and other expressions of exotic wealth. At the peak of the ivory trade, pre-20th century, during the colonization of Africa, around 800 to 1,000 tons of ivory were sent to Europe alone every year. World wars and the subsequent economic depressions caused a lull in this luxury commodity, but increased prosperity in the early 1970s saw a resurgence. Japan, relieved from its exchange restrictions imposed after World War II, started to buy up raw ivory, and this started to put pressure on the forest elephants of Africa and Asia, both of which were used to supply the hard ivory preferred by the Japanese for the production of hanko, named seal stamps used like a signature. And prior to this period, most name seals had been made from wood with an ivory tip, carved with the signature, but increased prosperity saw the formerly unseen solid ivory hanko in mass production. Softer ivory from East Africa and Southern Africa was traded for souvenirs, jewelry, and trinkets. By the 1970s, Japan consumed about 40% of the global trade. Another 40% was consumed by Europe and North America, often worked in Hong Kong, which was the largest trade hub, with most of the rest remaining in Africa. China, yet to become the economic force of today, consumed small amounts of ivory to keep its skilled carvers in business. And then in 1979, the African elephant population was estimated to be around 1.3 million in 37 range states. But by 1989, only 600,000 remained. Although many ivory traders repeatedly claimed that the problem was habitat loss, it became glaringly clear that the threat was primarily the international ivory trade. Throughout this decade, around 75,000 African elephants were killed for the ivory trade annually, worth around $1 billion. About 80% of this was estimated to come from illegally killed elephants. The international deliberations over the measures required to prevent the serious decline in elephant numbers almost always ignored the loss of human life in Africa, the fueling of corruption, the currency of ivory in buying arms, and the breakdown of law and order in areas where illegal ivory trade flourished. The debate usually rested on the numbers of elephants, estimates of poached elephants, and official ivory statistics. Activists such as Jim Nyamu have described current ivory prices for poached ivory and the dangers such activists face from organized poaching. Solutions to the problem of poaching and illegal trade focused on trying to control international ivory movements through CITES, which is a Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. And this is where it sort of has really helped in bringing those numbers down. And although poaching remains a concern in areas of Africa, it's not the only threat for the elephants who roam its wilderness. Fences in farmlands are becoming increasingly more common, and this disrupts the elephants' migration patterns and also causes herds to separate, etc. But at least we've really brought that poaching for ivory down to an absolute minimum. Now the real problem lies with the rhinos. All right, so pretty quiet here now, so I think we'll change of place and let's head back to King's Camp. Where we have a
on safari. Now remember, this is live and interactive, so we'd love to hear from you.
To be having these incredible experiences in this wild underwater forest.
It was just one of those things which I don't think I'll ever see again in my life.
Thanks for joining us on our Sunrise Safari.
And the buffalo also taking himself for a drink now. Maybe he's going to lie down in the water too. See the red-billed oxpeckers on the giraffe. You can hear them calling as well. So the buffalo doesn't look like he's going to go for a wallow. Looks like he might be leaving. So Patricia was asking, are buffalo ever poached for bush meat? Yes, Patricia. But generally, it's normally some of the smaller game, an antelope, and they can things like snares. But yeah, I would say that there is the odd occurrence of buffalo being poached for their meat. But as I say, it's generally they would, either have to snare them or shoot them. But with shooting, it brings a lot of attention when you've got, a big noisy rifle that you need to take down a buffalo. And it's also quite dangerous. Buffalo are notoriously dangerous, hence why they're one of the big five. And they're also notorious for when they're wounded, they circle around and they come and chase the hunter. It's generally the smaller sort of antelope species that the guys are after when they go for bushmeat. But I would say that they probably have been taken in some instances. Something startled him, and it just goes to show that I've always said, you think these guys are slow and they won't be, have very quick reaction times, but when they need to, they can move. So, hold him though. So I found a nice article on the Daily Maverick, which was written on the 12th of November 2023. And it's by Tiara Walters, who says that they're often called Africa's most dangerous animal to hunt. But snares in Kruger National Park seem to be making a mockery of the buffalo's feared stature. Another animal known for its size and strength, every elephant poached in the park this year died in an agonizing snare. As we just see what this buffalo is worried about. I think it might be a false alarm, but you never know. And the South African National Parks faces mounting pressure to address a snaring surge and disclose how many of these killer traps have been removed within its reserve since the onset of the pandemic. This distressing situation has been brought to light through parliamentary questions and prompted calls for transparency and action to safeguard the nation's rich biodiversity. Now, they do mention that there has been an income void left by a decline in rhino poaching, which is now driving impoverished communities next to the park to snare and shoot buffalo in the southwestern sector. Remember, most of the people there are were relying on rhino poaching for survival. And this was explained by Pretoria's Corp Section Ranger, Rangani Sanwani, who'd been working in the park for about 20 years. To down a quarry as large as buffalo, some poachers were resorting to more than enormous snares. Now they don't have anything that is bringing food to the table, so they're moving to buffalo, shooting the buffaloes and selling the meat. Among known snare casualties, antelope, usually targeted for bushmeat, also stood out. And Sand Parks have said that including impala, 115 known deaths, zebra 48, kudu 25, and inyala 23. So it seems there is in fact an upsurge since the numbers have dwindled for rhinos, that the guys are now taking out elephants. And there's about 30,000 elephants and 20,000 buffalo in the 2 million hectare park, according to official census figures. And these known snare victims may seem small compared with the overall populations. Yet, without agreed and tested solutions, no one can say if or when the current surge will peter out. Yeah, so there is in fact a heavy uptick in poaching of big animals, and in particular buffalo. And just to put it into perspective as well, the sandparks removed 14,000 snares between 2020 and 2022, mainly in the southern and northern hotspots like Pafuri, Pretoria's Kop, Skukuza, and Stall's Neck. While this is a significant effort, it does not explain the 20% increase in found snares over this period, which marks a threefold increase that far outpaces documented deaths. And of course, those are the snares that they found. So I would say there's a lot more than that. All right, so now that the buffalo and everything else just about is left, I think let's change of province. Let's go to KwaZulu-Natal and the Tembe Elephant Park. Here, of course, we've got some more elephants and a good chance of seeing some tuskers here as well. The bloodline still going in these herds.
Out in the wild, life moves fast. To capture the action, you've got to be in the right spot at the wrong time. Now, incredible animal behavior, selected from amazing amateur and professional footage to reveal the secret lives of animals in motion. This is raw nature, caught in the act.
So Zim Dutch, welcome aboard, and she's saying a good afternoon. What is the poaching situation like in general on the reserves we see on here? Zim Dutch, it is under control, but as I say, there's always, when there's impoverished communities living right on the borders of the parks, which pretty much all of them do have, there is always some form of poaching, and most of it is through the likes of snares. Because the communities there, there's very little service delivery, and unemployment. So people are going to look for food. With the park management, they're always trying to keep the communities involved in uplifting them, giving them employment, and also when there is any kind of sort of offtake of animals within the park, they try to share that with the community, just so that there is a real value given to them, and so that they're not looking to do it illegally. But there always is some form of poaching across all of the parks. It's just at what level. And as I've said, there is a little bit of an uptick in the likes of the Kruger Park. But the work that a lot of the people do there is always incredible. And it's not all bad news, because like with the numbers that I was showing or telling you, that there's a lot going on in the Kruger. They say that it sounds like an apocalypse, but Kruger's large mammal ecologist, Dr. Sam Ferreira, says that it in fact is not. Over the past 15 years, spotted hyenas have doubled in numbers to about 7,000, which reveals a good prey biomass, and lions have remained stable at about 2,000 despite a number of poisonings. Hippos have shown their own brand of resilience, reaching highs of 7,000. Black rhinos have managed to maintain their low populations, however, it's still maintained. It's the white rhino that have had the highest mortality rates. And yeah, it's always, I think, as a result of the state of the economy, state of the country that they're in, and that will reflect in the amount of poaching that is present on these different reserves. All right, so nice to see these Ellies here once again at Tembe, but there we go. We're heading over to Rosie's Pan. And who we got here? These look like magpie shrikes. Off on the right, you got the ring-necked doves. Looks like a little sparrow up on the right of the magpie shrike. Always good birding here at Rosie's Pan. That's the reason why the little magpie shrike flew off with the introduction of that impala. And another. You can always hear the little blue waxbills calling here, very high-pitched, squeaky noise. And that one that's just come in, is that a glossy starling or is it a drongo? All right, so nice to see those magpie shrikes, but let's change of place, not too far, and let's go to Naledi Dam. Where we've got some little dung beetles inside, some nice fresh elephant dung. Now, we say that elephant dung, we say that the dung beetles are coprophagic. And phagia is the eating of, and copra is dung. So it's the eaters of dung. And there's different groupings of beetles. You get the endocoprids that literally go just inside the dung and remain there. You've got the telecoprids, which make their balls, and the famous ones make those big balls and roll them away and then bury them elsewhere. And then you've also got the kleptocoprids that also wait for the telecoprids with their dung balls, and they just steal them. And the one that I forgot were the paracoprids. They're the ones that go straight down under the ground. They go beneath the dung itself. There's a monitor lizard just disappearing off in the grass. See the long tail there? Now it's quite interesting as well, because in the Addo Elephant National Park and the area in general, we've got what we call the Addo flightless dung beetle. And I think because in times gone past, there were so many elephants in the area that they never needed to fly to find dung. And so they lost those wings because they never needed them. And so very special species of dung in the Addo Elephant National Park. And there's lots of signs up that dung beetles have right of way.
Our march to freedom is irreversible.
We raise our hands and we say, we will be free!
Great mass of South Africans deny their humanity.
Alrighty, so a little bit quiet here now, other than the dung beetles. So let's change of place and let's go back to Old Donyo. We've got an elephant bull there. Is he potentially going for a snooze, leaning against the tree? No, maybe not. So just on the topic of dung beetles, those ones that buried themselves in the dung and we couldn't see them anymore, the Scarabidae are a superfamily of tens of thousands of beetles, including the subgrouping Scarabinae, the dung beetle, which on its own has more than 5,000 species. Dung beetles are found on practically every continent and will thrive in all climates, except where there's extreme cold. And of course, with that in mind, no species are found in Antarctica. The removal of dung minimizes the number of flies, so these beetles are extremely useful in maintaining a healthy environment. And dung beetles range in size from a tiny 5 millimeters to a very substantial 50 millimeters and are divided into groups according to how they dispose of the dung, which is what I mentioned to you. But they're either rollers, rolling the dung into balls and then burying the balls in soft soil, or burrowers, taking the dung into tunnels directly under the main heap, or dwellers, which live actively live in the dung. There's often many varied species of dung beetles in a single pile of dung. They are very diverse in appearance, with carapaces varying in color from black to blue to copper. And the ancient Egyptian scarabs are actually images of dung beetles. Beetles have a lifespan of approximately 3 years. Their eggs, which are laid in the dung, hatch into larvae which eat the solid matter surrounding them. And then the adults generally only drink the liquid nutrient which is present in the dung as well. All right, so a little bit of technical issues here. I think let's head to King's Camp. Lots of Ellies coming through now. Lovely. And one last fun fact on the dung beetle is that it's well known that many species of birds and insects use sunlight to navigate. But in 2003, a group of researchers discovered a species of dung beetles using polarization of moonlight to navigate. And that very clever creature is the dung beetle, the African Scarabus zambesianus. Obviously in and around the Zambezi River is that particular species. Incredible. So Danny asking if they use all kinds of dung. Danny, they do prefer the bigger dung that they get, but I've seen them on buffalo, rhino, elephant, warthog, zebra. You often see them in middens of impala. I'm just trying to think what else. So I would say pretty much any of the dungs are usable by the dung beetles, and you see them all over. But just with the amount of the big mammals, amount of dung, obviously they do then concentrate there as well. And even at home in the Eastern Cape, I've seen dung beetles here collecting dog poop. So, and I've also seen them doing it with carnivore scat. So I don't think it's only limited to herbivores, but you don't see as many of them using that. I think they prefer the big elephant dung, rhino dung, buffalo dung. Those are the ones. So I've just checked, and I just wanted to see if there were any studies done on dung beetle preferences for specific dungs. And they say that they've done tests like this where they've offered dung beetles obviously in some kind of container, different types of dung, and they seem to prefer the wetter dungs that are given to them. But they're highly adaptable, and they're able to survive successfully on any dung type available. Because they don't drink water, they literally get the moisture requirements from the dung. They seem to prefer the wetter ones, and elephants being, probably the wettest of the lot. Maybe buffalo as well. So that maybe that's why, they seem to prefer those ones. But as the University of Pretoria say, they'll pretty much survive on any dung that they can find. All right, let's quickly change and let's head on over to Naledi Dam. Where it seems like it's elephants all round. Lovely herd come in here. And lovely to see them so close as well. So Andrew was asking, are there tuskers in this area? So Andrew, this being open, as part of the Greater Kruger Park, there are 22 big tuskers still left in the Greater Kruger area. And they've all got wonderful names and include Bidzani, Soto, Halshwa, Machachuli, Madolo, Masazana, Matlakusa, Mavalanga, Mbazo, Dlovani, Ngwenya, Ngunyu Pezi, Ngonyama, Ntobazana, Nwashinangana, Nwatlandlofu. Wow, there's some difficult names to say. No, it's mostly Shangaan, I would assume. Nwendla Mahuri, Tandamamba, Timaka, Tsotsi, Vuzopfa, and Shinzulunzulu. So quite difficult names to pronounce, but 22 in total. So the genetics are still there and still being looked after. And with that being said, any of those we have the potential of seeing. Oh, did you see that little baby just fall over in the mud? Looks quite slippery there. But yes, so the bloodline is in the Kruger Park, the Greater Kruger area, and we have every opportunity of seeing them as they move through any of these water holes. So as I've said many times before, you often see that the breeding herds, they come through, they seem to have their fun condensed into a much shorter period than the bulls. Bulls spending a lot more time, a lot more happy-go-lucky. They don't have as many breeding herds. So they're the ones that hang around, whereas the breeding herds seem to stick to the business of the day. Let's get in, let's drink, let's cool off, and then we move off and go and feed and get the day's jobs done. Well, as quick as they came, they've now left. And with that being said, I think we'll do the same, and let's head on over to Djuma. Where I believe this is the Talamati breakaway pride. 3 individuals that were spotted and found this morning. I think it was Stevie Boy that found them, and they've had a meal, I think overnight, quite a substantial meal. All got big fat bellies. And obviously it's very hot. You can see how much panting they're doing, and this is generally what lions sit and do during the day. They've got the added sort of problem of having full bellies, so that normally makes them pant just with that alone. But now that being hot as well, they're quite uncomfortable. And just for anybody that didn't know, I'll give you a little bit of a history on the Talamati breakaways. And this is from the Arathusa blog. And they said that originally part of the Nkuhuma pride, the Talamati pride of lions broke away from the Nkuhumas in 2007 when the Mapocho males took over from the Manyaleti males. And they established territory further north where the females started mating with the old Nkuhuma males. The 2 oldest lionesses in the Talamati pride, one of which is blind in one eye, known as Silver Eye, were born from this union. So the Talamati pride was officially named in 2011 after the Talamati bushveld camp. Talamati means lots of water in Xitsonga. And a brief history since then. 2011, the pride was taken over by the Matimba males. Only one female cub sired by the Matimba males survived, but is no longer with the pride. 2015, the Matimba males were chased out by the Birmingham males, which led to the Salati males moving in and claiming the Talamati pride. During this reign, 2 females died, leaving the pride with 3 lionesses. 2018, the 3 brothers of the Northern Avoca Male Coalition became the dominant males of the area, forcing the Birmingham males to move south and claiming the Talamati pride, as well as the Nkuhuma pride as their own. Early 2020, the dark mane Avoca male separated himself from his brothers and claimed the 5 Talamati lionesses. In 2021, the Mbali takeover occurred, And the Mbali male sensed that dark mane was alone and attempted to claim the Talamati pride as his own. During this takeover, 2 females got killed by the Mbali males and 1 male lion disappeared. This takeover caused the Talamati pride to split into 2, which is how we see them today. So the Talamati main pride is 4 lionesses, born late 2018, early 2019, sired by the Avoca males. The blue-eyed, silver-eyed female lioness, born around 2007, 2008. 2 young adult males, born late 2018, early 2019, sired by the Avoca males. And there's 4 lionesses and 2 young males. The silver-eyed female has been on her own for a while now, but when she joins the pride, there are 5 lionesses. The Talamati main pride has moved more to the area west or southwest of Arethusa. Dark mane was occasionally found with the Talamatis. I believe he was taken out by the buffaloes. Now, Jamie was asking if an opportunity came for them to hunt right now, would they? Jamie, they are opportunists and they'll take every chance they can get, but it would probably have to be something that almost walks right in on top of them, like a silly warthog that's not looking where he's going. But of course, the potential is there, but when you see them that fat, they're not really going to put much effort into it. But anything's possible, and they definitely could, but I would say most likely not. I can tell you one thing also. If I was one of the naturalists now, I wouldn't be putting my hand up to go and be hanging out with these lions, because as it heads towards sunset, they're going to probably get up and move around, and then you'd have to follow them. And that first sort of defecation that they have, well, they don't even need to have it. They will be passing wind. And while you're following them, after they've had a big meal like this, I can tell you that smell will be even sticking in your clothes. It is very pungent. And it normally first comes out as a slop. It's a black slop. Sorry for the descriptions, but that's exactly what it is. And it stinks to high heaven. So I wouldn't be volunteering to go and follow them today. Now, Paul is asking, are all predators opportunistic hunters? I would say so, yes, Paul. There might be some real specialist predators, but in general, as long as they're carnivorous, and as long as the prey has meat protein, they pretty much take whatever they can get. I mean, we've seen different predators, especially the males when they first leave the pride, or with leopards when they disperse or whatever it is. Sometimes they can even hunt things like spring hares, even mice and rats, or whatever they can get their teeth sunk into. And obviously, that's quite a bit of effort for not much reward. Later on, they'll be going bigger and bigger and bigger, and then, higher risk, but way more reward. So they will pretty much take whatever they can get, or whatever presents itself. As they start moving through, when they go on a hunt, that's what they do. They just move through the bush very often, and whatever jumps out in front of them becomes the prey.
This is On Safari. Now remember, this is live and interactive, so we'd love to hear from you.
To be having these incredible experiences in this wild underwater forest.
It was just one of those things which I don't think I'll ever see again in my life.
Thanks for joining us on our Sunrise Safari.
So Puma was just giving me a little bit of a further update and saying that last year 2 adult Telemati breakaways passed, and soon after 3 of the 5 sub-adults. So this 1 adult lioness and 2 subs is all that is left. Okay, I thought there was more still hanging around, but thanks very much for that update, Puma. Good to know. But sad that we have had the passing of those others. Such is the dynamics of the ever-changing lives of the predators within the greater Kruger Park. So, and Mark Walker saying we're having fun today. Thanks, Ralph. Well, thanks for joining us, Mark, and glad you're enjoying the show. And cheetahs and other animals saying this is so fantastic to watch. Yeah, we've had a good range of sightings today. And as per every day, it's always something different. Makes me wonder when in the future this female will have cubs. I hope not too long, and then this would increase this pride of lions because the numbers are dwindling. But still being successful, obviously, the amount or the size of their bellies. So that's good news. And of course, with these lions being around, you would expect to hear some alarm calls. There probably were some earlier, and as a result, everything downwind of these lions will know that they're present at the waterhole. You probably won't see many animals coming down for a drink here because of that very fact. With that being said, we are slowly heading towards the end of the show. It's been a wonderful show, as I said previously, but yeah, you just never know what the bush is going to produce, eh? So don't go anywhere, though, after this. There will be the sunset safari, and of course the naturalists will be out and about seeing what they can find. I'm sure they're also going to pop in here with the lions, but as mentioned, I'm glad it's not me, and I'm sure they'll go heading out and looking for something else, and they'll return, and they'll probably still be here. So that's what you got to look forward to, and of course have all those questions and comments ready. I'll be also interested to know what happens with them, what they get up to, and whatever else the guys and girls are able to find. So yes, thanks for joining us, and we hope that you join us once more for another live at the Waterhole. I won't be here tomorrow, but I will be in a couple of days, and for another few days after that. So I've really enjoyed this little stint, and I look forward to being back and seeing what animals are coming down to have a drink and cool off. So that's it from me for now, folks. Bush greetings, salagatle, cheers.
Well, I'm very